Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by A.D. Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Moves over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one!
Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor.
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It is Wednesday. We made it to the halfway point. Hope your week is rolling. We have got another good lineup today. Let's see. Expected to join us today, Bob Kravitz, of course. Let's see. Aaron Matus. John, I forgot who all's on today. We've got so much.
We're gonna work on maybe getting Kyler as well, but there's no confirmation there yet. But yeah, you got.
Oh yeah, so
first two.
Aaron Matus and Bob Kravitz. The reason that normally Rick Bozich is with us. Rick will not be with us today because he is busy working on a story down his way in Louisville. If you haven't been paying attention, things are not good down there in their basketball program. And it could be coming to a head today, which is, I don't know. I find that middle of the season stuff, it's got to be, man, it's that bad? Wow. Obviously it is. If you follow Rick Bozich, who was on with us each week, saw on his Twitter yesterday that he'd been speaking to his people and said they were done. They were ready for a new chapter already. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I'll follow them from afar. But so they had a meeting. They were having a meeting right now, as a matter of fact. They do not, in Louisville does not have a president. It does not have an athletics director, and they're on the verge of not having a head basketball coach, all at the same time. You want to talk about problems, folks. That's a school. Hey, let me throw this in for good measure. And they are waiting to hear from the NCAA on what their punishment is going to be for committing major violations while on probation for committing major violations. I mean, I hate to see a program go down in flames, but man, that one, you see that, the smoke trailing that one out of the sky. So we won't be able to talk to Rick about that this week, but we'll be able to talk about him with him later. Of course, that stuff's coming out as we roll. But man, that's story just, I'm just surprised that it's all going down in the middle of the season. The ACC is a very weak conference this year, and I guess I haven't followed Louisville. Aaron will know when we have him on. But are they already out of the tournament? I haven't. Is it that bad to where they know that they can cut ties now and it's not going to affect their season?
Well, here's one thing that they lost to a bad Notre Dame team the other day at home and followed it up with a loss on the road to a pretty mediocre Virginia team. And I believe their record right now is 11-9. So you're already headed toward another season without being in the NCAA tournament with that.
Well, yeah. Why are they losing is the big thing. I don't follow them closely enough to know, and I'll look forward to talking to Rick, but are they losing? They're not losing because of lack of talent. They can't be, because that's the thing that's been amazing to me is all these schools that were caught in that FBI trap still did not have problems recruiting after that, including Louisville, who had impending doom.
I've got a clip not with me yet. I'm going to go pull it but it should explain exactly kind of what you're looking for with what the problems are. So I'll be
Okay,
back.
great.
Let me get this clip for you, and we'll show.
Yeah, do that. But just curious, how's everybody else doing? We got let's see. Better hit the Andy Moore Honda hotline here. Sam, how are you, sir? Down in Winter Garden, Florida. Jason, how are you, sir? Will Coach Woodson pick up the starters? Absolutely not. We'll talk about that. Indy Nation. Ross, how are you, sir? Jennifer, Tim, Michael, the music man. I got to keep going on. There's a lot more. Forrest is already on down in Georgia. Turn that off. Let's see. 5 lefts. Indy Nation freezing, yeah. Well, I'm heading to Florida tomorrow to watch Jalen Hood-Schifino and company. But don't get excited. It's not warm down there either. Plus, I've got to be on a 6 a.m. flight after doing the postgame late tonight. Not looking forward to the next couple of days. But I will be getting to see Jalen Hood-Schifino and company play. They have a tournament going on down there, and I'm going to go down there and catch that. Grab some interviews with those guys. We'll have all that for you all next week. Looking forward to that. KJ Evans, Derek Queen. Also, a couple of guys being recruited by Indiana. You know, you don't see very often, I was thinking about this, very often you don't see guys from the same team coming to college. Now, rare is it that you have a high school that has guys, multiple guys that a school would look at together. Now, Montverde is like La Lumiere. It's not your normal high school, though. This is a group of elites. So Montverde is a place where you could have that. And therefore, that you do have a couple other guys that IU is recruiting. How successful is that? Yeah, I don't know. Because all those guys, they all come from different places. They go to Montverde. And they all have their own paths that they want to forge. So I don't know if how successful that, say, someone like Jalen Hood-Schifino would be in recruiting a teammate, but it's got to be easier than not. But going back to we were talking about the Louisville thing, John says he's got this clip. All right, so let it roll, brother.
Sometimes we just don't bring it. Do you think the players are still responding to this coaching staff, or are they tuning them out? I don't have a comment for that.
Ouch. 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 Was that a player? That was a.
Yeah, that was a current player. I believe his name is Malik. I can't think of it. Malik Cunningham's the quarterback, so it's not him. I think it's Malik Williams is his name.
That's not the dude from Fort Wayne, is it? Or they've got a. Anyway, that's horrific. You've got a sitting player asked a question about whether or not they're listening to the current staff, or they tuned him out, and he had to stop and think about it. And then his comment was no comment. So, we'll talk more about that later, maybe, with some guys. But there you go. 2 years ago, hey, Luke's on with us now, pointing out Kobe Bryant and his daughter and all those people lost. That's been 2 years now. What a shame. Our good friend of the show, AJ Moye, comes on with us, is still actively teaching at the Mamba Academy. As a matter of fact, he just had a son whose middle name is Kobe. So thoughts and prayers to their family. See, Sam says, bringing the cold weather with me to Florida because it will be the coldest weekend all year this weekend down there. Yeah, I noticed that when I looked at the daggone forecast. Rain and cold, no, Sam. It's not just cold, it's going to be rainy and cold. Hell, I could have stayed home and had that. Just kidding. I'll be in a gym most of the time. Luckily, where it will be hot. It'll be hot in there. Forrest says it's 47 there. I didn't think it'd be that chilly down there where you guys are. 5 Less said Jalen Hood-Schifino snubbed from being a McDonald's All-American. Yeah. That is the kid from Fort Wayne on that clip, John. Okay. That's exactly what I thought. So, yeah, I think Indiana, he picked Louisville over Indiana. I don't know how much Archie went after him because I don't think he had much of a shot. There's a good question. So if U of L recruit Caleb Glenn decides to decommit because of coaching changes, does he look at coming to IU since IU is a second choice? Does IU look to take him? Do they have a spot for him? Will they have a spot for him? But I don't see why you wouldn't. Where in the hell are you, Jason? 11 degrees there. I don't even know what it is here, to be honest with you. But Clay, great question. I don't know how Caleb Glenn does not decommit. That's a great point. Because there is going to be a completely new everything down there. I don't know what, other than being from there, now you've got nothing. He's got nothing to draw himself there. He has no idea who the coaching staff will be, no idea what type of offense, defense system they will run. Is he going to wait to find out? I don't know. But is he a possibility to open up? Absolutely. Whoever was recruiting him probably already back in touch with him. Are you telling me it's 4 degrees here? Holy smokes. Jason's down in Corydon. Oh, man, that's south of me, baby. Oh, Forrest. Damn it. I didn't need to know that. It's 4 degrees here. Yeah, I did not need to know that. Sean says, who takes on that dumpster fire? At some point, you would think the morality of the athletic department would shift into trying to find I lost my spot. Trying to find someone who can keep the program clean. Well, I think they thought they found that. And it wasn't. Mac is not breaking NCAA rules to my knowledge, but they've got another mess going on. Well, they're not winning. The Dino Gaudio thing was just an absolute embarrassment after all that they had dealt with. Think he could have probably found a different way to handle that. That was his issue. I can't believe it's 4 degrees here. Clear skies out there. So deceiving. We got to take a break. Is that right, John? Is that what you're telling me?
Yep.
All right, brother. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Bob Kravitz is going to join us here and made us back with more, brought to you by our good friends from Southern Stone Restaurant here in Bloomington, located at Patterson and Rogers. You can also catch Inside Indiana Basketball each Monday at 7:05 with Don Fisher and Mike Woodson. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration or...
Yeah, Bruce Pearl.
Bruce Pearl's going to leave his job currently when he's number one in the country for this dumpster fire in Louisville? That's what I don't understand. Is that really a realistic possibility?
Look here.
I just don't think. I mean, I guess he doesn't understand the baggage. He's not ever been around here.
Think of this. First of all, do you not realize who you were talking about?
That's true. It's not like he's
the man who has created baggage wherever he's gone. Look at the schools he's been at. Find one that he was at that did not have problems while he was there. Not kidding. Including his current employer.
Mid-season, though? You really think he'd leave mid-season?
Well,
he's got
no.
his team
I'm
at
not
number
saying,
one in the country?
They're not going to hire a coach midseason, brother.
I guess you're right. They won't.
They're not going to hire a head coach midseason.
What a disaster Louisville is.
But Louisville cannot hire a Bruce Pearl.
They probably will, though. I mean, they rehired Bobby Petrino a couple years ago in football.
He didn't cheat.
That's true.
He was just a cheater on his wife. He was just a dick.
Yeah. I just sent Bob a reminder of his new time. Hopefully he's awake and saw it. If not, then I'll let him know he can just join later. In fact, I'll go ahead and send him a follow-up in case he's not awake. But if not, we'll have Aaron, and I've already heard back from Aaron, so we will have Aaron in 20 minutes. All right, here we go.
Hey, this is John, the producer with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you can find complete coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. We've hit the halfway point of the week. Indiana in action tonight as Penn State comes to pay a visit. A team Indiana lost to on the road earlier in the season. Indiana definitely has to get back. Probably one they possibly. You know what? Everyone can go through the schedule and look at this and look at that and yada, yada. But you just can't do that because the Wisconsin game is the game that's going to hurt them more than any other game. Secondly, maybe the Syracuse game because of they're bad. But the Wisconsin game is a game that would have helped them more than it hurts them. A road win at Wisconsin, period. That's a gigantic quad one win. Would have just helped them immensely. Like I said, it would have helped them a lot more than it hurt them. Currently, the Big Ten standings. Illinois fighting for that top spot still, as somehow last night, Michigan State, even though they had to play in Champaign, Illinois was without Kofi Coburn and their, was it Trent Frazier? Their guard that was out? And Illinois still finds a way to get that win. Illinois, had they not lost that tight game to Purdue, you want to talk about coulda, shoulda, wouldas? They'd be 8-1 in the conference with a 3-game lead over Wisconsin, who was playing quite well. So the Big Ten, potentially with two teams to be as a number one seed. Hell, Michigan State is up there. So the Big Ten with 3 teams that I'm going to put up in that elite category, that's going to be considered in that category, of Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan State. All right, so then you've got the next 3. Guess who's in that next 3? Ohio State, Purdue, and Indiana. Indiana can determine their own path for the rest of the season. Currently sitting at 5-4, 14-15 overall, 12-1 at home, 1-4 on the road. Here's the thing that jumps out. Team below them, Rutgers, is 1-6 on the road. Iowa and Michigan below them are 2-4. How about Maryland? Or Minnesota, rather. Let me go down to the 3rd worst team in the conference. Minnesota is 3-2 on the road. Northwestern is 2-3 on the road. Maryland is 2-3 on the road. The teams that do not have multiple road wins, Penn State, Rutgers, Indiana. Oh, I guess you got to throw Nebraska in there. They're 0-8, period. But life is tough on the road, but it shows you Minnesota currently 3-2 on the road. Minnesota is 2-5 in conference play. They're 12th in the Big Ten, yet their overall record is 11-5. They're still not out of the NCAA tournament yet because of their early season success. Maryland, that's a team that is struggling. They're at 11-9. Penn State, 8-8. They're on their way out. Michigan, that win Michigan had over Indiana was huge for Michigan. They needed that to stay alive in the NCAA tournament because now they're 9-7. They're only 2 games over 500. But they could go on a run. You finish in the top 9 of the Big Ten this season, and I'm telling you, I think the Big Ten gets 9 teams in this year. It could cut to 8, but I think they get 9 teams, and that includes Indiana. But we've got a long way to go. A lot of conference games. We'll see how that works out. And like I said, the schedule for Indiana this year, pretty fortuitous on the places they don't have to go. Is Illinois one of those? I think it is.
It is. They play them at home, and that's it. They really only have one really tough stretch of the season.
Michigan State is probably, I was going to say, is that Michigan State probably the toughest road game? I don't have their schedule pulled up.
They do, and they'll play that. They'll have Illinois. They have a game in between, and then they go to Michigan State all in within about a week.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Michigan State is the toughest road game they have left, right?
Yes. Well, they do play at Purdue if you want to consider Purdue on the road the toughest. But
well, I'll be honest with you. I'm being realistic. I don't think Indiana has a snowball's chance in hell of this season of going to Mackey and winning. That's 2 months away. This team could change that. I don't see the mental toughness enough there that they could go do that. But we'll see. It's a ways off. But yeah, where are we today? Penn State, 8:30 game. Damn.
Michael Music points out we also have to go to Ohio State as well. I say we, I mean Indiana.
Yeah. So you've got a road game at Purdue, a road game at number 16 Ohio State, and a road game at number 10 Michigan State yet. That's just 3. You also go to Northwestern. So stop thinking that that's a win. It's not a guaranteed win. You have Wisconsin at home. You got to go to Ohio State. You've got Maryland at home. You've got to go to Minnesota. You've got Rutgers at home, and you've got to go to Purdue. These are not easy games. Not one of those is an easy game. Penn State, I'm going to give that's a win for Indiana. Okay. At Maryland, it's winnable, and it's one that they need to get. That is a road win Indiana needs to steal because they need to steal one. Where are you going to steal that road win? Minnesota is probably tougher than because I think they played a little bit better, but well, Purdue is without question. Yes, it is a tougher road game. I don't know that Indiana has a shot, like I said, at winning that game, at least not right now, in my estimation, because I've not seen their mental toughness come out in a consistent fashion. But they've just got to take care of business, but they've got to steal a win or two. Where does that come? At Maryland is an opportunity. Home against Illinois. That is a win-win-win period. I don't care where it comes. You get a win over Illinois. And Northwestern. Maryland and Northwestern probably the two best places for Indiana to look to steal a road win. And common sense would tell you Northwestern would be the easiest, but that's also a team that went to Michigan State and beat Michigan State. So none of that matters. There are no gimmies. Let's see. Yep, Ohio State. Jason said, with the portal, teams can never be looked over. They're a really good team. Well, you never know who's where. Let's see. How about Georgia? Georgia beat, and Rick Bozich had a great tweet yesterday. He said that, without pulling it up or trying to remember exactly what it said, but it basically said Tom Crean interrupts Nate Oates' parade directly to Springfield, Massachusetts, where the Basketball Hall of Fame is. Georgia beat Alabama last night for their first conference win of the season. So how about the Georgia Bulldogs and former IU coach Tom Crean? I think he's out at Georgia at the end of the season, personally. Alabama has shown that, hey, you can play football and basketball. Although they beat Alabama last night. But Georgia just wins the national championship in football. Now they're going to want a piece of that basketball pie, and they should. You've got the damn Atlanta area to recruit. It's just about having the right coach. It always is. It simply always is. We'll see what happens. I'm not advocating for him to lose his job. I'm just saying I don't see how he lasts unless it's just financially not beneficial for him. But after all that money they pulled in from the national championship, I can't imagine that. Time for a break, Johnny boy.
It's interesting that no. I was coming to comment on the Tom Crean situation. It's funny how it doesn't matter if he's at Indiana or now that he's at Georgia. He loses to teams like Gardner-Webb and East Tennessee State, and then obviously teams like Fort Wayne and Ooey Pooey in Indiana. But he'll beat all the big boys like Alabama. He'll win a Big Ten title a couple of times with Indiana, but he can't take care of business with the teams he's supposed to beat.
Well, wait, he didn't lose to those teams. That was Archie.
He lost to Fort Wayne. Archie lost to Indiana State.
Archie lost to both.
Maybe Tom Crean lost to Fort Wayne as well.
Well, I'm
pretty sure Tom Crean, because that was the last season.
I think they lost. I think they lost to him 2 years in a row. Now that you say that
would be something. I think that might be true.
But Archie absolutely lost to him. That I remember that game. That was one of the most telling. That was the time I was like, what in the holy hell is going on? What are they doing? I was asking myself, what are they physically doing defensively? It was the most mind-boggling thing I've ever watched. I'm like, dude, first of all, you got to get within 6 feet of your man. They were losing people so badly. It was. I've never seen the worst start in my life. But let's get off of that. I want that bringing my day down. Oh yeah, no, you can do that anytime. Speaking of which, let's go to the scoreboard from last night. Who did? Oh, go backwards. I mentioned that great Big Ten game. Gee whiz. Did you watch any games last night?
No, I was at iHeart till late. And we'll be there late tonight, too. For those of you who don't know, I work at the iHeart in the Louisville area, and obviously that's why I'm dealing with all of this Louisville stuff.
David Ortiz into the Hall of Fame. The only baseball player going into the Hall of Fame. How about that? Also, Scott Rowland did not get in, but he did receive, I think, 63.2% of the vote. Getting closer. I think that he has made 2 years in a row the biggest jump. There he is. He was the 4th highest vote receiver this year with 249 for 63.2%. David Ortiz received almost a 78%. Okay, so not even close to a unanimous selection. The guys that kept rolling out that will not be there next year in front of him, I think Barry Bonds and Roger Clements. This was their 10th year. They both received about the same amount, 66 and 65.2 for Clements. Now, both of those guys were just gigantic names in baseball when they were playing, but they also ended their careers on the juice. I'm glad they're not getting in. It doesn't bother me at all. But that's good news for Scott Rowland, I think, who should move up next year the 3 guys who are in front of him will not be in front of him. One of them already went to the Hall of Fame, and 2 of them will not be eligible, I believe. So that could be great news for Scott, who is an assistant volunteer for Indiana University baseball, a donor, good friend of Jeff Mercer. So congratulations to him. Some of the other names behind Scott Rowland, Kurt Schilling only received 58% of the vote. Todd Helton, Billy Wagner, Andrew Jones, Gary Sheffield, Alex Rodriguez. Let's see. Who was the biggest loser? Schilling to drop so far from 71%. Holy crap. He was at 71% last year. He was 4% from getting in. And this year, he's at 58. Woo! Wow. That does not bode well for him. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and Kurt Schilling are now off the ballot. Someone said that they do think that they'll eventually get in. Bonds and Clemens might not live to see it happen, though. And I think that would be fine. I think that's going to be the deal with Pete Rose. There's no way you keep Pete Rose out of the Hall of Fame. These guys cheated baseball. He bet on baseball. His Hall of Fame credentials are as a player. And I was looking at this yesterday. Holy crap. He's had the most hits in baseball, but he's also had the most at bats, and he still hit over 300. Crazy.
Break.
I was trying to find, we got to take a break, but I was trying to find just what they thought of. There we go. Based off of this year's results, this writer thinks that Scott Rowland has a good shot getting in next year. After that, they'll see Andrew Jones, Todd Helton, get a lot of scrutiny from analysts, build a boat. But let's see. It'd be very interesting to see how much of the 2017 Astros penalty Carlos Beltran will have to pay. Don't forget about that. Cheaters. And you got Scott Rowland, good old American, clean-cut, Midwestern, Jasper, Indiana guy, played for the Cardinals and the Reds. No way he doesn't get in. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat. Aaron Mays joins us next, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Sports on television.
Southern Stone, da 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 da. Oh, Minnesota hat. I was like, what's he wearing?
Representing.
Oh, North. Man, I thought you had a gold chain going on. I thought you were doing like the Eli Manning thing today.
I would do that if I had a gold chain.
Are you from Minnesota?
Yeah, that's where I grew up.
Like, I see you tweet about it a lot. You don't.
Yeah.
You definitely dropped the accent off, I'm assuming, because you don't really have a Midwestern accent like that.
He had to, man. He's in television. Trust me.
But some people can't do it still. Some people just don't. They're not good at it.
Well, I was
No,
born.
that's a problem.
I think I was born in New York, and we lived there for 6 years, and then moved to Minnesota. So I feel like maybe the two balance themselves out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
Balance. There's no balance there. That's too
Cancels each other out, maybe.
that's
canceled.
two upper end things. Yeah.
But I remember even in school at IU, I'd be like, I'm from Minnesota, and people would say, "Oh, Minnesota." I'm like, "Well, I didn't say that, but sure."
Yeah.
I tell you what's a really bad accent is people down here from Eastern Kentucky. That's another one that's hard for people to drop off.
Yep.
I remember being a student at IU, and one of my roommates was from Pennsylvania. I was like, "Damn, it's cold outside, man." He said, "Really? What's the code? What's the code?" And I'm like, and I just, but that little stuff they'll point it out to me. I'm like, subtle little differences.
Yep.
So you really had to, and I did, because, I went from Louisville on TV. I went to frickin' Wisconsin. So I went up there to Wisconsin.
Where were you again?
What about Wausau? What about that?
And you hear it up there.
Oh, what about that? Hey.
The Northwoods, right?
Oh, hey, yeah. Oh, very much so. I'm like, and then, here I am. Even though I'm from Southern Indiana, that Southern thing kind of blended in a little bit, especially if you get lazy. So I had to really make sure Washington, not Washington, all that, you have to focus on it. There's no question about it.
Yeah, some of those Wisconsin accents.
Wisconsin. Yeah, what about that? And I remember the first time I heard a girl say, I was like, what? I said, boat. I said, what's a boat got to do with it?
Getting up to the UP there, eh?
Well, if you guys watched, what was that called? Making a Murderer, that northeast side of Wisconsin accent is like almost hard to understand sometimes. Manitowoc.
All right, here we go.
You can always get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. It is January 26th, and I've been informed that it is single-digit temperatures outside. That, no bueno, baby. That is no bueno as Aaron Matus joins us from D1 Ticker and Speak Connect. Boy, how apropos is it that you're joining us today, especially where you're joining us from, because I know a particular school that might be able to use your all services on a multitude of platforms right now. And the University of Louisville is without a president, without an athletics director, and soon to be, if I haven't missed it already, without a head basketball coach. Has that ever, I mean, that is, that may be unprecedented. Is that unprecedented?
To answer your question, and I didn't look into this, but I saw someone ask that question you're kind of posing right now. It said, when is the last time a school was without a president, an AD, and a basketball coach? And someone immediately answered, Louisville in 2017. And I was like, well, of course it was Louisville, and recently, if that is the case, because they cleaned house in 2017. Now it seems like they've cleaned house again, not for quite the same reasons they did a few years ago, but.
Well, this is a little different because they cleaned house there. This is a situation where the president left, the AD left, and they're firing the basketball coach.
Right.
A little bit different. It's like rats jumping off of a ship.
Yeah, and oddly enough, if you're looking into it, this is a power move by interim AD Josh Hurd. I mean, to get this done in the interim, just after they announced a new department that they're putting together for NIL opportunities, he's doing what you're supposed to do if you want the full-time job, right? Which is act like you have the full-time job. So good, I say good look on Josh Hurd in the sense that he's making moves.
All he has to do is not screw up, and the job is his.
He's got a shot at it for sure, and this will help.
You navigate Louisville through, these are treacherous waters, because on the other side of these treacherous waters is a freaking typhoon called the NCAA that's coming at them.
Yeah.
Because they've got that on the backside.
Yeah, you mix that in the pot as well. It's a very odd situation. They'll probably go back to oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Mike, who was leading the team when Chris Mack had the suspension earlier, and he actually won some games. So he'll have the interim. The interim tag is just going to be part of Louisville athletics in 2022 spring semester right now, because they're going to have a lot of that tag on. It seems, the president, AD, head basketball coach are all going to be interim. And then you've got to see what the Louisville brand can lure at this point, because it's still a great job. But there is that cloud you just brought up. Who wants this right now? Because we thought the hammer was coming when Mack took the job in 2018, and it hasn't happened yet. That is nuts how long this has taken, which is
They've gone through an entire recruiting. Yes. I keep saying, I'm like, okay, these schools, you look at Auburn, Kansas,
LSU.
LSU, where are they right now? All freaking ranked in the top damn 10. It's crazy. But Louisville, even though Louisville's not, they didn't miss a beat recruiting wise. I don't know what's going on. I don't follow them close enough to know why they're not winning, but they haven't really missed a beat recruiting wise. They got guys that I didn't. I'm like, wow, I can't believe he would go to Louisville with this cloud, but they must have known enough to say, don't worry about that. It's not gonna affect us.
Well, and when Chris took the job, there was something built into his contract that said if they get a postseason ban, that he gets a year kicked in extension. So he was ready and willing and said it might happen, and I want an extra year on my contract because I'm going to lose that year. But that again just goes to show you that we all thought this was going to happen shortly after Chris Mack took the job, and it still hasn't happened. It's going to happen theoretically for the next head coach, unless it happens in this interim, stint we're going to have for probably a few months. But it's crazy, and I am not a Louisville defender by any means, but the fact that this is still hanging over them is garbage.
Absolutely, I agree, and that's on the NCAA, and they're inept lack of ability to deal with this stuff.
Yeah.
They're not going to, because at the end of the day, 4 or 5 years later, what in the hell are you going to do? What can you do now? You cannot punish kids that were in something that may end up being in damn junior high school when this happened.
Yeah. They won't even know about the original scandal.
It's just become a farce.
I'm afraid
that's going to continue.
Louisville's in this IARP. They're going the independent route as opposed to the traditional NCAA review board. And the IARP has been so slow to the point that last week in Indianapolis at the NCAA convention, when they passed the new constitution, they immediately put a pause on any cases going to the IARP. And they said, because this has taken so long, and as Division I reviews the policy that we're going to go towards for further punishment for cases, let's just let them deal with on their plate right now because they're taking too long as it is. So they're not even getting cases referred to them anymore, which is the right move. I mean, it's ridiculous that this has been hanging in the balance.
I think that the fallout for Mac won't be nearly as bad. Because he can easily say how that was just a crap show when I got there and we couldn't do anything with it. And to get himself out from under this, so he lands okay. But where does Louisville go next? Do they even know? How the hell do you hire? I mean, I know that they're not going to be able to hire one for the rest of the season, but how can you hire a coach now? You can't hire one until you have. How can an interim AD hire a basketball coach? I don't see that's going to happen. And you have to have a president, I would think, or at least the board of directors to get permission to do that. So there's so much that wow, what a freaking mess.
Yeah, and listen, Louisville knows, where its bread is buttered. So they won't hesitate to pull the trigger on a coach should they get that opportunity. Whether or not he's still an interim AD, yeah, he might be, and their AD might be sitting in Florida retired, waiting for the next opportunity. Something that.
What is Rick Pitino sitting there thinking? I mean, he is just. I'm sure he's not happy that he's not. He doesn't seem like a willfully bad person, but he is. I'm sure he is not. It doesn't hurt his feelings that Louisville is where they are right now after he became the only coach that was dumped without any proof from the fallout of what he really was fired from.
I would imagine that he's not losing sleep over the situation in Louisville right now by any means. But, two things. First of all, yes, it was supposed to be this landscape-changing FBI investigation, and nothing's happened. Nothing's happened except Rick Pitino, and others losing their jobs in Louisville. Now,
Kansas. How about Kansas? And Bill Self
is
still
the
out
LSU
there.
one is the one that always shocks me. I mean, he's on tape. He's on tape. And maybe that'll come. Now, I do say this. There was enough that happened at Louisville over the course of time that it was probably time to part ways before the next embarrassing scandal happened. So, yes. In a sense, two sides of that coin. He's the only one that lost his job in that investigation. The other side is at what point was enough?
Adidas. There was enough Adidas action going on that, but it really sucks for him. He is one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all time.
Oh, hands down. Yeah. The man
look what he does. He reminds me when I went to high school, Joe Hinton was the coach at Floyd Central. Well, eventually, he won over 500 games in the IHSA. He's in the Hall of Fame, but he was a big winner at Floyd. Eventually, it was like a Bob Knight ending. Just finally, boom. All right. So he goes and coached at, I think it was Hazelwood Junior High School. Made them winners, just winners. Went helped his wife coach New Albany high school women's team. They won a state championship. Then they started going out to these other places, just winners. He went. It didn't matter what level, and that's the same with Rick Pitino. I don't care where you would put him. You could send him to a JUCO. You could send him to an NAIA school. You could send him to Greece. And he's going to do one thing. He's going to freaking win.
Yeah.
Because he's a damn good coach. I'm just telling you. He's a freaking great coach.
Yeah, on the
Shame
floor.
he had to get caught up in that.
On the floor, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. You know, it's I didn't cover him in Louisville when I was working in TV there, but I hear a lot of stories and I love hearing them because it sounds like it could have been a show. It sounds like it was almost a mob boss and his cronies running around. I mean, they had bars and apartments and, you know, allegedly, and it just sounded like living the life and, you know, bringing a glass of wine to the press conferences. It just sounded like a show. And like you said, eventually that caught up to him a little bit. But, you know, I'll say this about Chris Mack. When he took the job in Louisville, I reached out to some colleagues in Cincinnati and I said, hey, what's this going to be like? You know, what's he like? And they said, hey, when he was at Xavier, he would do anything for the media. Ride-alongs to Dunkin' Donuts in the morning because he always stopped at Dunkin' Donuts. He'd let us mic him up for practice and whatnot. And then he comes to Louisville and he doesn't do any of that. He almost is annoyed by the idea that they're the number one show in town. Whereas in Cincinnati, he had to compete for attention. So that was a really odd change of attitude. And I know that
funny. It's one shared by Rick Pitino, who did not want to share Louisville. Anytime there was talk of NBA coming to town, he was like, hell no.
Agreed. And all of a sudden you're the show and you don't want to do anything. He wasn't kind to the media. He didn't work well with the media outside of his couple people. And in a way, it's not apples to apples, but it reminds me a little bit of what happened with Archie Miller at Indiana.
I was funny.
Now,
I was thinking, I'm like, wow.
I think both men can coach ball. I think they were bad
I'm going to disagree with you on that.
Bad fits for where they're at. I think they'll probably have success elsewhere. But and the other thing that wasn't I don't think, and I've talked about my former coworker Rick Bozich with this, I don't think Archie Miller was ever mean or short with the media. He just wasn't all that interested in doing some of that stuff. But in a way, they both didn't quite understand the ambassadorship that comes with the job. And I think it eventually caught up with them. You know, Chris Mack had the number one team in the country 2 years ago, Jim. 2 years ago.
Wow. Fall from grace, baby. Speaking of falling from grace. Well, you know, Tom Crean.
That's what it reminds me of too. Big Ten champ.
Tom Crean, you go from, but also going from ground zero, 6-25. No 2 scholarship players. Number 1 in the country. Now he's at Georgia, hanging on probably in his last season at Georgia, although he did beat Alabama last night.
Yeah, did you see that? I mean, this college season is outrageous.
Well, I saw Rick's tweet. That was my favorite part. Did you see Rick's tweet on it?
What'd he say?
Tom Crean interrupts Nate Oates' parade to Springfield, Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, this season is nuts. And, you know, every night there's evidence to show you that maybe IU fans
last night
shouldn't
in the Big
freak
Ten
out too much about a bad performance on Sunday. But
last night
it's hard when it's your team.
Yeah, I was going over the score. Last night is a perfect example. You have a Michigan State team who goes to Illinois to play them without Kofi Coburn, without Curvelo.
Yeah.
And they lose.
Yep. That's a big win by Illinois.
And this is the same Michigan State team that lost at home to Northwestern.
Yep.
And Michigan State is one of the top 3 teams in the Big Ten. So, you can't get the loss. I spoke earlier. The loss for Indiana to Wisconsin didn't hurt them nearly as badly as it could have helped them. A road quad 1 win It just looks horrible because they had a 22-point lead. And this looks god awful, but luckily the metrics don't play into that.
Right.
It
That's
counts
what I was
as a
going to say.
loss.
I would say it doesn't look horrible. It feels horrible because we know.
It looks horrible to the fans because that's what I meant to say. Exactly. But it could have helped them so much. That would have been a gigantic win. A loss that hurts them more to me is Syracuse.
Correct. Yeah. Every time
You
I
lose
see
at
them,
Syracuse and they
how many
suck.
points did they score last night? And we gave up 112 to them.
It's just that is a loss that is just going to continue to eat at them this year. But they've got to. Is it break time? They've got to find a spot to
just as I'm
pick
rolling,
up some wins.
Just as I'm getting rolling, John says it's break time.
Always. Well, we'll come back and keep it rolling. We got more on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at
What
Eagle
is
Point
time,
Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Start for New York. Oh, look at the big,
Sorry.
nice coffee mug.
It's my candy stripe mug.
Yeah, I don't have
Looks
coffee.
like blood's coming out of the top.
It's pottery shop in Weaverville, North Carolina. The guy's an IU graduate. I said, "Can you make me a candy stripe mug?" He did it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have this one that I got for Christmas. It's it just says like cream and crimson on it. It has the IU logo, but it doesn't. It's just black until you put the coffee in it, and then it heats up and the colors show, and you see what it says.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
That's a good one. John, where are you from originally?
Mainly the Louisville area. I grew up real younger. I was in Jeffersonville. Then my mom, whenever she remarried, moved down here to Bullitt County.
Oh, okay.
And now I'm married, and we still live in Bullitt County.
You do? Okay, right on. But an IU fan.
Most of my family is either Indiana or Louisville fans.
Yep. You probably have a lot of UK there in Bullitt County.
Yeah, my wife and her family, they're all UK fans.
Oh, that would be
I
exhausting.
would say my wife is kind of converted.
Yes.
But because she didn't really, she liked Kentucky because of her family, but she doesn't watch them nearly as much as she used to, obviously. But
Yep. That would be hard. I don't know if I could handle you. I don't know what would happen if one of my kids or something started cheering.
I'll tell you what, it's definitely taught me how to tolerate it a lot more than I used to be able to.
That's probably moving down here, living here for a few years is probably I've learned a lesson in
like being in
tolerating
school. Like when I was younger, let's see, during the year Indiana beat UK in the regular season, when that whole ordeal happened, I would have been in middle school. And that was probably one of the most fun times to be, the only Indiana fan amongst a bunch of UK fans. I remember I made a bet with one of my buddies. I said, "You're going to wear this Indiana shirt to school if Indiana pulls this out." So that was very satisfying for me back in the day.
I had a good bet when I was working in Denver with a Michigan fan, and when it was that 1 versus 3 or 2 versus 4 game. And
oh yeah.
If Michigan won, I had to wear maize and blue on the air, and if IU won, he had to go to the Nuggets shoot around the next day with candy stripe pants on. So he had to go do that, and it was great because Doc Rivers was the opposing coach. It must have been the Clippers then. And of course, he saw right away and knew because his son played. So it ended up being kind of a fun thing, even for the guy that didn't have any interest in wearing candy stripe pants.
All right, here we go.
Remax Advanced Realty at Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. It is Hump Day. Aaron Matus from D1 Ticker, Connecting Louisville, is with us now. Man, you guys are probably busy as all get out right now. Is it busier now or in the summer?
Well, I keep in mind I didn't start till September, so I don't know yet. I don't know. I don't have a good comparison. I know we did the NCAA convention last week in Indy, so that was a very busy week. So this
I
week
wish I'd
so
have known
far
about that.
compared to last
I
week.
would love to have gone to that.
Yeah, it was an interesting week, especially with the new NCAA constitution and everything. So this week has been far more laid back than last week was.
Speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up. They what?
Now they all write them. Now it's kind of the next step where each individual division writes their constitution. So it will be very interesting to see what happens. I think one of the major things is you're now going to police your own division, and there's going to be a much quicker process for when people do get caught up in anything.
But who is going to actually dole out the punishment?
That's to be determined, right? I mean, you want my opinion? Like I said last segment, they've stopped putting cases into the IARP. Well, I think the IARP probably goes away once they get through their caseload. It'll be interesting to see what they come up with and what they draw up.
Yeah, because now, so basically, you're putting the fox in charge of the hen house of sorts.
That's what I do wonder. It'll be interesting to see what kind of committee they might form. But yeah,
I'm sure you'll probably have the president of Kansas and LSU and Auburn on there.
What if they come out and say Bill Self and Will Wade are going to be heading up the legal department for the Division I NCAA basketball? Well, you're going to have all the answers you need then.
Bill Self has I think nothing happens to Bill Self, but I think he has a bigger chance of something happening to him than Wade White. I think nothing happens to LSU. Nothing.
Well, the only reason I would argue is that the NCAA has seemed to protect its made men, and Bill Self I would put in that category. So,
it's a made program.
Yeah.
You can't tear down one of your marquees. That's like Hollywood trashing John Wayne at his height. Not going to happen.
Yeah,
they need him. They need him.
Yeah,
Selling at the box office, baby. It's like Duke. Do you think if you think Duke did not benefit year after year by unscrupulous things, you're out of your freaking mind. If you think it's a coincidence that both Duke and Kentucky Nike schools just fell off the planet the year after the Adidas FBI investigation, you're out of your mind. That's not a coincidence.
Yeah, and there's enough smoke surrounding the Zion Williamson recruitment that I certainly don't think nothing happened with that.
North Carolina, the academic fraud. I mean, gee whiz. I mean, it was one of the biggest that there was. Indiana, look what happened to them, though. You go back to that. They're a program that got wiped out over a rule that was changed the following year.
Shortly after.
Yep. I just
hasn't been back since.
Never have understood.
I shouldn't say that.
I never have understood the vitriol that seemed to have come with the punishment. I'm like going, that's a school that was clean as clean gets, and they just got the hammer. And
I think it has something. I've always thought it had something to do with the fact that, when they hired Kelvin Sampson and he had the dings on his record, it was kind of like, okay, you're going to take that risk.
Yeah. And
then he comes and does it here, which I think it had more to do with that than the actual, act.
And the people he brought in, let's be honest, a lot of unscrupulous guys. So, but there's that. Hey, the All-American team was named McDonald's All-American. I don't see your name on it, Aaron.
I didn't. I did a quick look for Big Ten recruits to see who we might have coming in and who we might be going up against, and I must have missed them. Not a single Big Ten recruit on the McDonald's.
Not only that, I have to go all the way down to. Well, this is probably in an alphabetical form, maybe not. UCLA is killing it, man. They've got a couple of guys on here, Mick Cronin, but Duke. Of course, I see a couple. They've got a couple. UCLA got a couple. Baylor, or Arkansas, Texas, Kansas, Houston. Speaking of Kelvin Sampson, Arkansas's on here. Wow, man, your boys is rolling down there.
Things have changed.
Things have changed in the SEC. Arkansas has 2 McDonald's All-Americans coming in. Nate Oates at Alabama. The SEC is not your grandfather's basketball league now.
The SEC plays an attractive style of basketball, and it's not that hard to flip channels on any given night between the Big Ten Network and the SEC Network and see that sometimes. And guess what? That impacts recruiting. So when we come out and see a Big Ten rock fight with 60 fouls called, and it has an impact. It has an impact on recruiting. It has an impact when these Big Ten teams get to the NCAA tournament.
Absolutely. And the SEC I had long thought of the SEC as the ACC. Well, they've swapped spots. And in a bad fashion, the ACC just sucks this year.
They got some soul searching to do. They got some real soul searching to do, both football and basketball. I
was going to say, as an entire conference.
Yeah.
They only win the country club at sports.
Which is why it's interesting. I argue the ACC needed this college football expansion more than anyone because they need the money because they're not getting anything from the ACC network. I should say anything. They're getting peanuts compared to other conferences. And then it was Jim Phillips, their commissioner, that pulled out of expansion. He's the one that stalled the expansion talks and said, we're not doing this anymore. And I'm like, wow, I can't figure out the play. They have no shot
at Notre Dame if expansion is approved.
Yeah, they don't have a shot at Notre Dame anyway. I mean, unless he's just saying, I realize that, and if we stall this, maybe things change in the next couple of years. But as things stand right now, Notre Dame is not joining the ACC.
Notre Dame belongs in the Big Ten Conference. But
geographically, I would argue you're correct for sure.
But is Indiana big enough to hold 3 major D1 programs? I mean, by that I mean recruiting recruiting is bad enough now. Although Indiana produces per capita probably more talent than anybody else, but you already have Kentucky and Louisville and Indiana and Purdue and Iowa and Michigan State and Michigan and Ohio State. All these schools recruiting here as it is, plus everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah. And now you're going to if you add a third Big Ten team being in the Big Ten, well, that would change their recruiting.
Yes, it would.
I think.
Yeah.
I think for the benefit.
That's a fair argument. I mean, on the flip side, Notre Dame's already. It's not like they're a program waiting in the weeds. You know, they're obviously already in the mix, especially for northern talent in Indiana. They're always mentioned there. They probably compete with Michigan State as much as anyone up north in the state. For Indiana recruits, I should say. So yeah, that would be interesting, and it's hypothetical because it ain't happening.
I think Duke pulled in 3 McDonald's All-Americans.
Not surprising. Not surprising at all. Which is interesting because that's going to be the first year without Coach K. So, getting back to you asked last segment
Nike's still there, baby.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You asked about who Louisville might get next, and that'll be very interesting just because of what happened at North Carolina, Duke, and Indiana. I mean, not one of them pulled some huge name out of the hat. They went with former guys. So who's a name that is on the big name on that list would be Kenny Payne. Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned that. That could happen. That could happen.
Duke has 4 out of the top 10 recruits. And the rich get richer.
So they'll be just fine.
And for people that talk about NIL, I'm not hearing all this NIL talk coming out of Duke. Not saying it's not happening, but I'm not hearing about it. If it is, they're doing it very quietly, which is probably the smart play.
Yep.
Below the radar. This Texas, every offensive lineman's going to get a $50,000 NIL deal.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you just get yourself a red flag out and wave it to the NCAA? Come on down and check out what we're doing down here.
Right. Yeah, and with what schools are finding out this year is that thus far anyway, let's just take a step back quick and remember this is brand new. But what they're finding out throughout the year so far is that there's not a lot of guardrails up. And so I think what you're going to see is programs get more brazen until there's some sort of Yeah, federal legislation is what a lot of schools are asking for right now because state laws make it more difficult or easier, depending on your state laws, for what you can do NIL-wise. And without guardrails, there's programs that are going to just keep pushing the limit. And, it's basically paying to come play at your school is where we're at and going to get to.
That's what Texas is doing to me. I use that example that the offensive lineman, when it is an unnamed recipient, that's an inducement. So, yeah.
If you come play here, you're going to get $50,000. I mean, and it's – yeah.
So everybody's making all this big deal. NIL is not really – all the NIL has done is allowed players to make money. It's allowed them to do that. It is not but do you think that there's not cheating going on in that source somehow? Yep. You just don't know
there is. There is. Yeah. I mean, I've talked to and read one individual in different conferences over and over refer to it as the Wild West right now.
Absolutely, because
I just heard that from a Wyoming, administrator who just said
a Wyoming administrator
who just said, "Well, what can we do? What can we do? We have a few bucks we can throw around up here, but with some of these schools doing whatever they want, we can't compete with that."
But how's Wyoming being affected? How, like a school like Wyoming?
Because players can get more money going elsewhere.
Yeah, but what players are they not getting that they would have gotten before? And what I'm saying is, who are they losing them to that they didn't lose them to before already? I mean, not that I love Wyoming, but I'm just saying they're not losing recruits to Colorado or bigger, better teams out there.
Everything's at scale, and I think that comment also came after saying, we're not going to be able to do anything like the SEC can do. But, Wyoming's up there with no one around them. So you start talking about players in the NIL community. Well, if you're closer to a metropolitan area, i.e. Colorado State, Air Force, we're all in the Mountain West. You start getting more players and more individuals that can come together. And really right now where NIL is, you need a third party. The schools itself can't do it. You need third party individuals to, foster these payments, so to speak. So it's just a crazy scene right now.
And then the problem with that is there are too many third party individuals that like to involve themselves. There are no rules for them.
West Virginia just put a whole trust together of former athletes, Pat White, Pat McAfee, and that's a whole different scenario there. I'm talking about individuals as third parties that are trying to do this.
Oh yeah. Indiana has people like that.
Yeah.
But then they're doing it. I think that too many of them portray it as, we're trying to do it for the kids. No, they're not. It's still for themselves, still for attention, all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, the students aren't benefiting that much.
And to get their program up. I mean, they're trying to boost so
yeah.
I'm for the student athletes being able to make the money. I agree it needs federal legislation. So it's an even playing field across the country. But I also agree that, legislators are probably like, we have so many things to worry about besides college athletics right now that it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. So if I were in a college athletics department, I'd say I'd be hitting the green button go right now on pushing the limits of what you can get away with right now.
Yeah. Earlier, who asked that question? Someone said, on average, do players, warm players from warm weather states, will they play in, there it is. Or I had it up still, didn't I? John's got it. All right. And then a comment after that from Tim that he saw KJ Evans, who was with Montverde, teammate of Jalen Hood-Schifino, his top three Indiana's in there, says Indiana's cold. When he came up here, it was cold, apparently. And he mentioned that Oregon has a lot of Nike stuff. So, yeah. But I also that's what I was talking about earlier. He wants to forge his own path. The fact that he plays with Jalen Hood-Schifino, he's probably going to go his own way, I'm thinking. But that's just me. I'll talk to him this weekend. I'm going to see those guys this weekend, Aaron.
Where at?
Monteverde. I'm going down there. They have a tournament going on, and going down to talk to them and do some interviews with them, and talk to both KJ Evans and Derek Queen, in addition to Jalen Hood-Schifino.
That'll be good. It'll be good to get some good content out of that.
Absolutely.
I'm still waiting to see this IU regime pulling a big man. I do not blame them for going after guards, but I'm eagerly awaiting their first major big man addition for the future.
Well, they have to quickly too. But see, here's the thing. I said this at least a year ago, or maybe, at least a year ago. I'm like, right now they have to start thinking about that for the future, which I guess probably shouldn't have beat on that drum as much with the portal.
The portal changes everything.
Portal
it's not good for my patience.
The portal is the Walmart of college athletics, man.
Yeah. Just sit and wait.
Are you sticking around for those segment? I can't remember.
If you need me to, I'm here. Let's do another segment.
Bob Kravitz is up next. That'll be fun.
Let's do it.
All right, we're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Bob Kravitz joins myself and Aaron Matus next. Here, brought to you by our good friends from Remax Realty. If looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore's 2 decades of experience. Could be the difference between you getting the home you want and not. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Back with more after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration.
No guarantee we'll have Bob, but I told him if he missed his 850, he could do 950. So we'll see if he shows up today.
Where's Bozich today? Probably covering Mac.
He's on
departure.
campus.
Yeah.
He sent an email late last night. I already knew. As a matter of fact, I said, I was expecting that. Don't worry. I saw that they had a meeting and yada, yada. And
I haven't seen
he's on it, baby.
Any news out of that?
Now, aren't you? But
I've seen him tweet a few things. He said that he's seen a few players walk into practice, but no Coach Mack yet.
Aaron, you have to be happy not to be. I think it's twofold. I bet you miss chasing it, but at the same time, don't miss having to do this chasing crap.
Yeah, I don't. I actually have not missed any of it. I even thought that last night with I'm like, God,
you have
my life
normal.
You
have a normal life
right now. Yeah.
You're going to have holidays. You're going to have weekends.
Yeah,
now you get holidays, except unless you're the big people, but you're the one filling in on holidays if you're not one of the big people.
Right.
Well, not what he does.
I'm talking about whenever he was in news.
Right.
Not what he is now.
Yeah, and then with sports, you just have to divvy up the holidays pretty much. But yeah, I did last night when it was all breaking. I was not there was not an ounce of my soul. It was like, man, I wish I was trying to track down a comment from a former Louisville player.
It's funny because it's just like a cycle now. It's like every 3 or 4 years, this is what happens down in Louisville at this point.
It's just nonstop for them. They got to get an AD that can just steady the ship and quit with the drama.
So what's going to come first? A new AD, or a new president, or a new head coach?
They said last week that the AD search likely comes first, and they said the president search could take 18 months.
That sounds so silly.
I mean, Tyre and the former president, Neely Bendapudi, there was a weird falling out there, and then she, somehow negotiated his resignation on her way out. It was this crazy play, and then they didn't know she was leaving. But yeah, I don't know. That was a quick falling out because
why wouldn't he come back?
I think it was just time, and I actually think he served his purpose very well of bridging the gap.
Over.
Yeah. And he's not a college athletics guy. He's a businessman.
See, and that's the thing.
20 seconds.
That I just I hate it when Fred Glass. He was a freaking lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Aaron Matus with me, Jim Coyle here. Aaron's with D1 Ticker, formerly of WDRB TV in Louisville. But man, he's got a cool deal now, but busy dealing with college administrators, the jobs. Do you all deal also with non-athletics, or is it just athletics?
Just athletics. Yeah. Intercollegiate
Enough to
athletics.
keep you busy.
Yep. And we even do, we keep an eye on the D2, D3, and NI.
I was going to say, is this across
well.
all levels, or is it just D1?
Yeah, it's across all levels. There's jobs posted, and we cover, news happenings. Yeah, as you might imagine, a major percentage of that is the D1 stuff. But we try to keep an eye on all of it.
We're talking about Wyoming a second ago. David Brewer. Hey, David, how are you, man? Down in New Albany. Said Joby Wright was the head coach at Wyoming at one time. Yes, he was. He recruited Indiana's all-star Ladrell Whitehead from New Albany to play out there. He was the WAC freshman in 1995. Forgot about that. David was a good player in his own right. I can't remember if he played at that time or not. I know he's has been an assistant of sorts down there for Jim Shannon, but David was a good player in his own right. But thanks for being on, David. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well, and the wife.
Jim Shannon says notched 600 win the other night.
Things aren't going well for them this season.
No.
It's been a struggle to get there, but he's had a hell of a run. Yeah. You get 600 wins. That's a lot of wins, man. It's a long time, but it's a lot of wins because there's a lot of opportunities to lose along the way too.
He's had a good run, no doubt about it.
Ross says that IU football will never be able to compete with NIL. Yeah. But I don't know that they have to. I mean, again,
I'd like to, if he's listening.
They're not competing against these teams now anyway.
Yeah, great point, one. And two, I would argue there's a flip side to that in that maybe NIL could be the key to competing. It takes a couple of boosters. It takes an interesting group of rich alum to decide they're going to contribute to players' financial well-being, and you've got a chance.
Just takes the right player or two, period. Mm-hmm. You bring in the right quarterback. Let me tell you, if you have a Joe Burrow or all those big name quarterbacks that when they were playing college, how well they played, if you have them at quarterback, that makes up for a lot of talent that you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to purchase, quote unquote, 11 great offensive players. You just need one or two.
Yep.
We've seen Indiana compete at a high level. It can be done. Are they ever going to compete for the Big Ten title? No. My opinion is absolutely not, because Ohio State is a juggernaut as a machine. It has the NIL going. You're not going to slow it down. Michigan, Penn State, you're just not going to.
If you want to draw a comparison to what I think is possible, look at what Kentucky's done the last few years. And the reason I bring that up is because we had a conversation in our office recently, and it was kind of that what you're saying, Jim, is that this is the ceiling for Kentucky. This maintaining this is brilliant by Stoops and staff. 9-10 wins, but
in the SEC, no less.
Yeah. Are they going to surpass Georgia and Alabama?
Nope.
Yeah. So I draw that comparison. They don't have to. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. And neither does Indiana. If they win 8, 9, 10 games,
buddy, you win 9 games, you're going to a nice bowl game. You're going to be warm. Your fans will be happy. That means you've won the majority of your games, which leaves people happy. It's just winning cures everything.
Yeah.
It just does.
Crucial year for them coming up, in my opinion. They gotta look more like they did in the COVID year than they did last year, or else there's going to be a lot of air out of that balloon. I don't know how you get back into it. So that'll be real interesting to see where they go football wise in the fall.
Yeah, they've got the quarterback. They had Josh Hoover coming in from Texas, and then he decommitted, and I still, gosh darn it, I think that kid is going to be special. But they have another Texas kid coming in, and then the
Missouri
transfer from Missouri, most likely.
Which I've talked to some of my Mizzou brethren that say he's the kind of guy that's going to have some great moments and some super frustrating moments. And I was like, sounds like an IU quarterback.
I was going to say, that sounds like a lot going on there.
Yeah.
But a lot of changes coaching staff wise. Here of recent, they have recently announced the new DC and new D-line coach in Paul Randolph. And of course, the DC is Chad Wilt. Not calling the defensive plays, though. Tom Allen going back to doing that. I think that makes a lot of Indiana fans happy. They were pretty ferocious when he was when he was calling the defense, but he was also spending a lot more time with them. And although he's calling the plays, I don't know that he's going to be spending as much time with them as he was when he was a DC, because he still has to be the head coach.
Yeah, I'm kind of wait and see mode on that one, because I remember when he stopped calling the plays and it was a big celebration. Oh, his time was getting spent too much being the D coordinator and calling plays, so to speak. And
because there was no head coach doing game management stuff.
And so I'm not going to quite celebrate yet that he's back to calling plays, because it's like, all right, well, where is he not going to be now? It could work and it could be great. And I'm not saying I'm anti or for. I'm just like, I'm just wait and see, because he wasn't calling plays when they were at their best as a team.
Yeah.
That's
I don't think
know.
that him calling plays was what happened. That had nothing to do with last year. Everything last year was offensive, the fallout. Forrest doesn't think Indiana can win 9 games in the Big Ten East. I definitely say they're not going to win 9 games next year. I don't know. Making a bowl game next year would be like winning 9 games to me.
And we're back to that again. Yeah.
It's
Big Ten's got to get rid of divisions.
That or do something. Their divisions are a mess. It's ridiculous. It does not help teams like Indiana. I think it knocks them down.
Purdue's schedule next year?
Is it easy as pie?
Oh my goodness. Don't look it up. It'll ruin your day.
Well, yeah, they're in the Big Ten West. So what more could we expect? Let's see. What is
talk about Penn State? Did you already do too much Penn State?
I was just going to say tonight's games on tap. Indiana is at Penn State, a game that they definitely have to win. I hate to say that, but the only reason I do is because they did lose at Penn State earlier this season. You know what? And that loss doesn't bother me because, you've had Northwestern go to Michigan State. Last night we had Michigan State go to Illinois without Crivello, without Kofi Coburn, and they still lose. How in the hell does Illinois beat Michigan State without their 2 stars? That to me, that was tougher than Indiana beating Purdue with Trace Jackson Davis on the bench. But
the only thing I'll say about this is tough and it's a little bit nuanced, but I'm with you. The Penn State loss in and of itself on the road doesn't bother me. But this is the but. You start dropping too many of them, and we get in the exact same situation we were for 4 or 5 years, where it's like, oh, if we just would have gotten this one, or this one, we'd be in.
Well, they've got to make up that loss.
Yeah.
To me, I think you got to make that up somewhere. And I'm like, okay, you've got 2 opportunities to me, are at
Maryland.
Daggone it. At Maryland and at not Rutgers. That's going to be a tough one. Northwestern. Those are the 2 best chances.
Maryland won last night at Rutgers, so don't tell me that's an easy game right now. Don't tell me any road game's easy for Indiana right now. So I think they got to win 3 of their next 4, and I'd love it if it was all 4, but I don't know if that's realistic with this team and their up and downs right now.
How about UCLA last night? Number 7 UCLA beat number 3 Arizona 75-59.
How about that? I mean, they were theoretically on UCLA being this is what I'm talking about. They were theoretically on their 44th choice for head coach when they hired Cronin, and all he's done is gone to a Final Four. And now has got him as a top 10 team in the country.
That's like me. Whatever, anytime I make a decision about something, I should do exactly opposite of what I think I should do. And I would think I'd probably have like an 80-90% being right factor.
Yeah.
I really do. But how often does that happen we see that with choices? I'm like, they didn't want Cronin, but yet the one that they want, what they think works, if it would have worked, it would have already worked. It didn't work the first time.
Somebody tweeted out a screen grab from 2018 last night that was they were ranking the coaching hires in college basketball, and both Archie Miller and Chris Mack were listed as, quote, grand slams.
Yeah, but who made?
So
who,
we all think we know.
But who said that though? But who said that as a grant? But yeah, who's saying that is the thing.
I can't remember what the article was from. It was probably an ESPN article, but it's not let's be honest. Most people thought those were great hires. There was a consensus among people that they were great hires, and neither has worked out. And meanwhile, I believe Holtman and Underwood were the same year, same class, and they're rolling.
I've got to give Brad Underwood some credit. I'm like, he's so everything. He's so he doesn't look like a basketball coach. He doesn't move like a basketball coach. But yet he's been pretty damn successful. And right now he's got his team poised at the top of the Big Ten. And getting that win last night was gigantic without his 2 stars. So
yeah, because they had just lost on the road, right? Without Kofi, I believe. So that was a big win for them.
Well, they barely just lost to Purdue. They were unbeaten when they lost to Purdue, and I think that game went to overtime, I believe.
It did. Yeah, it did. And they didn't get much out of Kofi in that game. I know that.
No, is that the game he got hurt in?
I think it was. So they're playing well. They're going to be right there. I mean, like what's your guess right now? Probably Illinois, Michigan State, and Wisconsin, probably the favorites right now to win it. Can't rule Purdue out yet, but they've obviously got some extra in the loss column right now, thanks in part to last Thursday.
Yeah, Purdue put themselves in a hole there. It's so funny. They are 5th in the Big Ten.
Right.
5th in the Big Ten Conference. That tells you how tough this league is, dude. That was the number 3 team in the country last week, and they're 5th in this league.
Yeah. That was it the next night?
Half a game in front of Indiana.
It was. I think I was tweeting or texting with Rick Bozich last week when I saw Illinois losing on the road. I can't remember who beat them. Rutgers? I can't remember who they lost to, but I was like, oh my gosh, Wisconsin's going to win the Big Ten. And Rick's like, is Illinois losing? I said, yeah, they're about to lose. And then, 20 minutes later, I texted him, Michigan State's going to win the Big Ten, because Michigan State was running Wisconsin out of the Kohl Center 20 minutes later.
It's going to be I tell you what, this is going to be a great Big Ten season.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be an incredible Big Ten tournament.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
I mean, you've got, 5-6 teams right now that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that could win the Big Ten tournament. You've got 5 teams that can win this league right now.
Yeah.
And we are halfway through the season, and you still have Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Ohio State, and Purdue. I think they could all win the Big Ten. I'm not going to include Indiana in that because that's not.
Yeah, but to your point about the tournament, I think that top half, so a couple more teams can beat each other on any given night.
Yep. The right win, the right team gets beat, and you get the right win, the right matchup comes along. It's going to be exciting this year, so I'm looking forward to that. Indiana taking on Penn State tonight. 8:30 tip. Damn it. I hate those.
Be up late.
But it's a late game, but one that Indiana needs to win, of course. And the play that
I'm
they've
telling
had
you,
at
they got to
home-
win 3 of these next 4. Penn State and Illinois at home. They're on the road at Maryland and at Northwestern. So I don't know where those 3 are coming, but then
so that means they have to
tough
win.
stretch.
They have to win one on the road.
They do. I think so, because then you've got at Michigan State, home against Wisconsin, which is always a nightmare. That team is just a nightmare. And then you're at Ohio State. So
I think you've got to beat Illinois
good
at home.
Lord. I agree. 100% I agree. You got to beat Illinois at home.
You need another, not that they don't have a couple of good wins by beating Ohio State, by beating Purdue. You need more. You got to continue to, you don't want to end up being a freaking 8-9 seed.
And you want to beat Wisconsin at home on February 15th too, because otherwise the at Michigan State, at Ohio State, let's be honest, that's, you're not going to be favored in those games. Now after that, you got a little bit of a stretch. Home versus
Minnesota,
Maryland, at Minnesota and Rutgers.
Minnesota has played well. Minnesota is a team that cracks me up. They are 12th in the league, yet they're 11-5 overall.
They had a great non-conference, and they've played tough. They won at Michigan. So let's be honest. We gotta tip our caps to them right now. I know Michigan wasn't playing well at the time, and
Barnes a tough place to play, man.
I'm of the opinion that the loss to Michigan for Indiana is going to look a whole lot different in a few weeks than it does right now, because that team looked good. They played very, very well against Indiana. That was not an 8-7 team that Indiana played. So I think that loss gets better and better, although it will remain frustrating in the sense that IU came out flat when it was so predictable they would come out flat. Like, you've got to be able to fight through that.
Indiana needs to take care of business at home, no doubt.
Forrest, the answer is no.
What did he ask? Could Kentucky win 9 football games if they played in the SEC West? Yeah, absolutely not. Home games that are going to be the toughest for Indiana, Wisconsin and Illinois coming in. Do they have to win both of those games? I know they have to win one of the two. You got to win one of the two.
Oh my gosh, they got to win one of the two. And the reason I say yes, and the reason it was a guarded yes, is because I don't trust them to win on the road yet. If I thought that, let's just say the win at Nebraska doesn't exactly.
But home losses hurt. Home losses hurt more.
I 100% agree. But if I had any confidence that this team had the ability to go get the games on the road that are gettable, I'd say, sure, you drop a game to number 11 Wisconsin at home. It's not the end of the world because you just went and beat Maryland and Northwestern on the road. But I don't have any confidence that they can go beat Maryland and Northwestern on the road. So you better win your home games, because it used to be, we used to have the old mantra of like, win your home games, go 500 on the road, and you are in great shape in the Big Ten. This team is not going 500 on the road. There's no way they're going to go 500 on the road in the Big Ten. So you better win your home games.
Yeah, to even get to 20 wins, they're going to have to find a road win, I think, and they're going to have to win a game in the tournament, the Big Ten tournament, to get to 20 wins. Not that 20 wins is necessarily guarantees you anything.
What are they at now? 14?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
They should, and see, that's why a couple of those losses really hurt. And I'm not saying all of them, but just your 2 games. There's 2 games that they shouldn't have lost. Absolutely, they would be sitting at 16-3, the same record as Purdue. They would be ahead of Purdue, ironically, and it's just crazy. Because I know the fans always have high expectations. And I'm like, I think this could be a top 4 team, but I think that they're more like a top 6, and that's where they are right now. And they're in the top 6, and I think that they should stay there. This is the tournament team to me. They just have to take care of business. But they've got to get better. They've got to get smarter. They've got to get mentally tougher, like you talked about, not trusting them on the road. That's because they're not mentally tough enough as a team yet, I don't think.
I think we will know a lot by Tuesday, February 8th. So that is the next 4. If they're sitting at 17 wins by that stretch, I think we'll have a firm idea of what to expect the rest of February and March from that team, or the opposite. If they go 2-2 in these next 4, we'll know a lot more. Then you've got that stretch of Michigan State, Wisconsin, and Ohio State. That's going to be tough no matter what you're ranked in the country. So I think by Tuesday, February 8th, with a stretch of winnable games, and yes, playing at home against Illinois is a winnable game. It absolutely is. We'll know a lot by then. And I can't agree with you at this point that they're a tournament team. I was ready to say that after Purdue, but then I just saw a poor effort from them against Michigan, and I think I'm too conditioned to believe that a couple of bad halves can collapse this team, because we've seen that happen in February and March the last couple of years.
Yeah, I've got them with 18 regular season wins is what they end the season with. I don't know what that – I'd have to figure out what the losses, what that would make them. So where they have 5 losses now, so –
what the COVID year, they finished the regular season with 19, if I remember correctly, and the Nebraska victory got them to 20. And everyone, I mean, they were in at that point.
18-10. 18-10. If you go 18-10 and you win one game in the Big Ten tournament, there is no way that this team does not make the tournament this year. The Big Ten is strong enough that should leave them in a good enough position in the conference that doesn't look bad, and record-wise, they will have accomplished enough. But
I agree.
That's 8,
I agree.
9
Let's not forget that that's what IU fans wanted. We all morph our expectations, and it's this enigma, so to speak, this living organism that you beat Purdue and it's like, oh my gosh, can we make a run at the Big Ten title? Let us not forget the goal for this team when Woodson was hired and we watched how the summer evolved was, let's just make the tournament, okay? And I think that's what we need to remind ourselves sometimes when we freak out after every loss and every win as a fan base. Every half of basketball is a referendum on the program. Like, no, you have to collectively see what's happening and remind yourself that the goal after 5 years of not being in the tournament was, okay, let's get in. And I think what you just laid out, Jim, is a path to the tournament that is very much alive and realistic.
Yes, and one that Indiana fans are looking forward to, getting them back in that tournament. It's just
Jennifer just said Woody's goal is to win the Big Ten. She's right. She's right.
It has
and
to
you
be.
have to
it
say
has
that.
to be.
That's not going to happen this year, and that wasn't a realistic goal this year. But take first step towards that. Get in the tournament.
Absolutely. And they're on the path. What's coming up next for you, brother?
Right now, it is continue to kind of debrief from, like I said, last week at the NCAA convention, and kind of figure out where we're going from there. There's all sorts of possibilities for D1 Ticker and Connect. Hitting the road. Here's my dog barking already.
He said it. He agrees. What's the dog's name? We have to know.
The dog's name is Indiana.
Wow, you really stretched for that one there, didn't you?
The dog's name is Indiana, and then the other dog is named Yogi, who just came in because the other dog barks. So the English Bulldog is named Yogi, and a lot of people ask, is that after Yogi Ferrell? I say it's technically after the old sports bar, but if you want to say it's after, well, that's where I grew up. It was the old one. So it's after Yogi.
When I was there, it was Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah.
That's how long ago it was before that. Oh, brother. Well, I appreciate you, sir, brother. I hope you go out and have a great day and don't get too busy, but it looks like you're going to be that way. So, but that's job security.
That's right,
man.
This is good.
You make Wednesdays fun. Looking forward to it, and have fun watching the game tonight. I'm going down to. Yeah, I've told you I'm going down to Montverde, so I'll have that report for you next week as well.
Are you at the game tonight?
I will be at the game tonight. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I tweeted out to Chronic Hoosier earlier, Lord, just give me a good performance and a comfortable win. I'd love to see it against a team they should have a comfortable win against. So let's see it. I'll be watching, and thanks for having me on, man.
You bet, brother. Aaron Mate is joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from D1 Ticker Connect, and we're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration. Thanks, brother.
Forrest says he used to have a schnauzer named Hoosier. Well, our bulldog before Yogi was named Hoosier. We lost her a few years ago. She was an awesome dog.
Are you still? You're still in the same place there in Floyd Knobs, right?
Yep. We're in the Knobs, and haven't been in work for 2 weeks because of COVID.
Health and safety protocol.
Yeah. So I've just been sitting here in the same spot doing work and trying to get a negative test, but I haven't had one. But I'm at my 10 days, I think, tomorrow. So at that point, it's like.
Well, I thought it was 5 days now, man.
It is. I asked at work what he wants to do. He said, just stick to the 10. I'm like, I'm not going to argue with you. You can sit in my
Jennifer had a golden retriever named Cheney.
I love that one.
She's from down in that area too. It is.
That's a good one.
My dog has no IU ties to its name. Its name is Lily. But whatever. Funny story.
Lily King.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go. It could have been. It can be retroactively an IU name. But she was a puppy, and I was doing this show. We got her back in April, and obviously I did the show from my house. This particular show, and my wife she's a teacher, so she's not here. And she would scream and make a bunch of noise between breaks so you could hear her when my mic wasn't muted. And people in the comments were saying I was abusing the dog, jokingly, I think, saying that I should have named her Screech because she was so loud. I mean, she was a handful at the beginning, but she's turned into a really good
Well, hell, we only have 10 minutes left. I should have just let Aaron stay on.
Yeah, Aaron, we finish up at 10:30 every week in case we didn't make that known to you before.
I mean, if you want me to stick on for 10 more minutes, I will.
You don't have to unless you want to. You did.
You know what? Might as well. It's only got 10 minutes left. There's nothing else to talk about.
You'll have to let the audience know he's still here, the radio audience. So
I understand it.
I didn't realize there was 10 minutes left, so I'll stick around.
I understand it. Yep. We begged him to stay.
Normally on Wednesdays, whenever everybody's here, it's going to be Bob before you. Then you come on after Bob. Then Rick comes on with us at 9:50. You can stick around with Rick if you want.
You can stick around as long as you want.
Yeah.
You can always stay as long as you want.
I'll come hit all the trigger points that I know get Rick going.
I love, talking with you is fun. What gets Rick going?
Tom Crane.
That's probably why I tweeted about it last night.
Chris
Mack. 10 seconds.
Through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Hey, welcome back on this Wednesday, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and extra special guest. No, I'm just kidding. Aaron made us sticking around with us. We've only got a few minutes left. Well, we begged him to stay. We don't have that much longer to go anyway. Tonight, man, Indiana at home on a late night game, 8:30 on BTN, taking on Penn State, which a game that they should not have. They should win the game, obviously. But of course, we always look at games and say who should win, and that just doesn't always go that way. I can't see Indiana losing at home to Penn State, especially with the lackluster performance they had after the gigantic win over Purdue. The lackluster performance with Michigan, although Michigan is a much, much better team than Penn State. I expect them to come out with full-throated, I guess you would say, as Chronic likes to say. The 8:30 tip, I don't like that late tip, but I still think that the crowd was not, I'll be honest, the crowd was different too for Purdue versus Michigan. It wasn't the same energy. So that was across the board. It wasn't just the players. That was an emotionally zapping win. That win sucked out so much venom and negativity, and there was just so much joy and happiness. I said it already. If you were a bettor, there's no way you were betting on Indiana the next game. That's just not a game that unless they were playing someone like Penn State. Now if they were playing Penn State right after that Purdue game, they could be in danger of losing to a Penn State. Don't see that happening tonight.
It'll be real interesting because I do agree with you. I do agree with you that there were some dynamics to the Sunday game that didn't add up very well. It would have taken some real mental fortitude to come out, understand the crowd's not going to be there like they were Thursday, and put together a great performance. So I'm hoping that in a couple weeks we'll just be like, oh my gosh, that Sunday against Michigan was such a buzzsaw. Not only were we a little flat coming out, they shot out of their minds, which they did, by the way, if you look at their statistics. They don't make those shots. Flip side again is maybe we left them a little more open than we should have. But yes, I just am really, really hopeful that in a couple of weeks we can say as much that went right for them to beat Purdue on the Thursday, there was a payoff for that, and it was what happened on Sunday. And maybe things kind of, water finds its level here a little bit, and we see a little bit more consistent effort, which is likely between what we saw Thursday and what we saw Sunday. I just hope the scales tilt towards the Purdue effort than they do to the Michigan effort. But tonight's the first step against a team you should beat at home.
Absolutely. Another conversation we've had here of late, which it's almost a pointless conversation, but how many of our conversations aren't? But it's about Trayce Jackson-Davis. And him going to the NBA next year. I hate when I hear someone say, well, they're not ready. Well, that's the dumbest thing in the world. Being ready for the NBA is according to the NBA. If they think you're ready, you're ready. Period.
I agree.
You're ready. You're ready enough for them to draft you and take the chance on you. They may not expect you to play this year, but you're ready enough that they want you. So if he's draftable, then he's ready. But I think that he would be doing himself a favor if he stayed another year. But at the same time, maybe not, because he simply has not improved on the things that, like his jump shot and his offhand, just hasn't been able to do that. Okay, so maybe he needs to get that from the NBA. Maybe he needs that toolage to where he doesn't have to worry about school. It's 8 hours a day about basketball. There's no tutoring. There's no, this, that, and the other thing, all that. Maybe he does go, and it's better for him to go after this year to get better at that. It's not for me to say, but I know that he is still limited with his tools right now.
Yeah, I'd love it, obviously, if he stayed and played his senior year at Indiana. It'd be great for IU. It would be great, especially given what we talked about earlier. They haven't quite firmed up who's going to replace him.
Well, and that's what Indiana hasn't had in so long, is having the guy with the guys. They keep missing by like a year of,
they don't
of having what they need.
Yeah, I do think what you said is true. It's, what is a year back at IU going to do for his resume, so to speak, as an NBA prospect? And at this point, given that he stayed his sophomore year, he stayed his junior year, and some of the stuff that we all agree has to show to be a better NBA prospect has not happened yet. So I don't know what another year does for him. And maybe kind of what you were hinting at, going into the league and playing against guys that are going to force him to get better is what he needs, because unfortunately, given his skill set, he kind of keeps getting put in the same spot because it's the best for IU. And he's banging in there with the guys that he needs to, because the big men in the Big Ten are so good. So I don't know. Would he benefit from another year? Sure. But is it time for him to go make some money and play basketball? I wouldn't blame him if he did that either.
Well, we're unfortunately, we could do this all day, go on with it, but we're out of time, unfortunately, because having conversations with you today has been just a blast. As I'm looking down the mock draft. I've yet to see his name as I'm going down through the second round right now. So that carries a lot of weight. We'll talk more about that later. But, man, it's been a blast. I got to get down there and see you. We'll go down in Bubba's and have lunch soon.
Let's do it.
Maybe.
And let's see if Coach Woodson comes out with different second half starters tonight if the first half doesn't start very well.
And see, he's kind of addressed that. He's not. He
said he's not going to change the starting lineup. I'm interested to see how much happens after that or how quickly he goes to the bench to shake up the minutes.
That is one that I think has to happen. This is a conversation we had about Archie.
Stubbornness, man.
Because there was a stat. I know we've got less than a minute. There was a stat that I saw. Indiana in the first 8 minutes in the last 8 halves or whatever was negative 70 points, whatever. I can't remember the exact number.
I think it was $1 billion.
And then it's and then the other one, the other way is $1 trillion. The last minutes of the half. So it's like that those analytics tells you something. You got to use them. I know we're out of time. We've used that up, brother. Thank you so much. It was an absolute blast. Make sure you give Aaron a follow. Aaron Matus on Twitter and keep up with him and me as well at Jim Coyle ISB. We're back tonight for the post-game show. And until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.